Stefan Spencer here. I'm so excited to have Kim White with us today on Get Yourself Optimized. I met Kim at a Genius Network event, their annual event last year, and several people said, you got to meet this guy. He's fascinating. He talks to ghosts. He's super cool." And they had me at the word ghosts, I'll have to tell you. So, but he's an amazing coach and a business expert. He's originally from Perth, Australia. He now lives in Vienna, Austria. Is that right?
At the moment, but I'm moving to the States. So,
Amazing. So that's you're a world traveler,
yep.
and he is a national and international track and field athlete, or was.
hmm
Training in the United States for selection in the 1992 Australian Olympic team. Kim knows quite a lot about kinesiology and about cellular memory in our body, and yeah, how to connect with your higher power and get the wisdom that's just waiting there for us. It's
hmm
wonderful to have you on the show, Kim.
It's great to be here. Thank you.
So let's start off by just sharing with our listeners here how you ended up where you're at now in terms of coaching people, and I mean you have such a storied background in such
hmm
interesting different areas, and now you're helping business owners and just really salt of the earth, good people
Yeah.
take their lives and their businesses to the next level. How did you end up on this path?
Well, I started out growing up as a child in Australia. I was very sensitive, and I always thought this was a weakness, a negative. There was something wrong with me, and I would fight for years against it. And then, probably about 30 years ago, I had this mind shift where I said, well, maybe it's a strength and not a weakness. And as soon as I changed my attitude, it's like all the doors opened up for me, and I started like, whoa, what's going on here? It's like people would come out of the woodwork and just give confirmation to everything that I experienced in my life before that time. And at the time, I was training for the Olympics, as you mentioned, and I would notice that everything was so precise in my training. Every uh, nuance about my training and environment was consistent, except where I slept the night before I raced. I was a miler, sub 4 minute miler back in the day. And so I would notice that the hotel room would have an effect on my performance. I'm like, how can this be? This is crazy. Why should the environment affect me? I should be stronger than that. So I started studying, okay, what can I do to change the environment to become better at, really maximize my environment to get a better performance. So my whole passion is about how can we get better? How can
Mm-hmm.
we improve? And the reason for the spiritual side was I got injured just before the Olympic trials, which really sort of threw a spanner in the works. And I went in this quest to find out why. Why did I get injured? How did that happen? What was the cause? At that stage, I knew a lot of responsibility was myself. What was I doing to create it? So I started studying. I was studying kinesiology and how the body and mind connection is. And then it led me down a path where these three clients in Los Angeles started telling me about this healer. And I says, "What's a healer?" So I was very scientific at that stage, very very biomechanical in my approach. So even though I was spiritual, I was always praying since I was a little kid. It was like, no, there's got to be something more here. So I said, okay, I'll go and check this guy out. And the transformation I had from that one healing was like, wow, I gotta find out more. And that's where it all began. And then I
Wow.
combined my passion for business and sports improvement with my deep connection with God. And I put the two together and created a business. And my whole life, people have been asking me for help. So I just said, hey, this is a good job. I'll do it. I'll try it out for a year. And that was 26 years ago.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
Uh, are you still in contact with that healer that started you on
Yes.
this whole journey? Oh, very
Yeah,
cool.
we're very good friends now, and we train. We're always constantly pushing to get better, to improve. What can we do to improve, get more out to the public, help more people? So yeah, it's good.
Very cool. Yeah. So you said that you were into prayer and connecting. to the Creator for your whole life, your childhood, and everything. For me, I was raised by a Jehovah's Witness and a Catholic for a good part of my childhood. My grandparents, my grandmother was a Jehovah's Witness, and my grandfather was a Catholic. I went to Catholic school, but I never got baptized. I used to witness all their fights, and they never got along. They slept in different bedrooms. And I just thought, wow, this is all bunk. None of it
Right.
makes any sense. And so I just shut myself out to any religion, and went through my entire adult life up until the age of 42 without having any connection to a higher power. I just was agnostic, maybe even almost atheistic that whole time. And then I had a spiritual awakening in India. I got touched by a monk, and I got zapped. I had
Right.
this otherworldly experience. It was amazing. I felt so connected, and then I went outside, and then the grass was just this technicolor green, like a cartoon, and I just felt so at peace and cared for and loved and understood. I just knew my life would never be the same. That I finally kind of
Beautiful.
plugged into the power grid, and
Beautiful.
everything changed from that point forward. Miracles started happening one after the other. It's like I could order up miracles. Like I had this whole backlog of miracles ready for me that were just waiting for me. Like
Excellent.
2 months later, I met my soulmate. We're happily married. We have a new baby who's 7 months old now. I'm really
Congratulations.
blessed, really, really
Yeah.
blessed, and it just happened all so suddenly because when I prayed for her to show up, I asked right away. I asked for her right away. 12 hours later, we were introduced by a mutual friend, and then
Mhm.
18 hours later, I said I love you to her. 9 days later, after that, I proposed to her in a hot air balloon. She said no, well, not yet. Then I reproposed 9 months later, and she said yes, and so
Very nice.
the rest
Yeah.
is history. But that's just one
Yeah.
example of the kinds of miracles that have been happening in my
Mm.
life and stuff that's just so out there and everything. I'm curious, what are some of the miracles that you would
Well,
like
first,
to share?
sure. Well, first, I want to say I like to describe my beliefs around spirituality and religion and so forth, and it seems to help a lot of people.
Hmm.
And what I say is that God is spiritual. God is a great spirit. You know, there's many names for God, but God is spiritual, and religion is man's way to find a path to God. So
Yeah.
there's so many different religions on the planet, and each one has their own path. And unfortunately, you know, most of the wars are caused by religion and struggles, even within, like yourself, in the family. You know, it's like causing so much turmoil. And it's like, okay, well, God is love. God is not this fighting, you know. So what's missing? And I realized that the religion got too mental and missed that connection, like you're describing, with the heart connection to everything. And when people come into their heart, then they feel, wow, okay, now I get it. I couldn't analyze it, I couldn't rationalize it. It's a feeling. And that's when you have that real connection to God. So the religious path you take is, it doesn't sort of matter. It's just what you've either been grown up with or around, or you found in later in life. And it's like, okay, but let me get in my heart, and I really want to feel this, so that I don't, my mind is quiet. And I guess if you're talking miracles, the biggest thing when people have a session with me is like their mind goes quiet. Like they just can't, it's like empty. It's like, wow, I'm so quiet. My mind's not busy anymore.
Yeah.
So I clear all the stuff that's causing us to think too much. And so you have that space where you can, you know, be between the thoughts. And that's where the inspiration comes. Then opening your heart is another miracle. It's like suddenly it's like, oh, I feel my heart. It's like my chest is really big without me even moving my body, and my lungs are moving on their own. And then it's like, okay, when your heart is open, then you can get that inspiration from the Creator, from God, from the Great Spirit to guide you in your life. People know about intuition, right? They'll pray or they'll meditate and they're asking God for this, asking God for that. And it's like, well, He's not answering. Well, so you've got to listen to your intuition. When you listen to your intuition, that's God answering your call.
Hmm.
So it's, so if I just listen to my intuition, as everyone says, when I listen to my intuition, everything's great. When I go against it, it's a struggle. So that's the miracle about bringing you in touch with your intuition so that you are in line with the creator and your path. Because that's what God wants us to all have a great life, right?
Yeah.
And all you do is listen to your intuition, you have a great life.
Mm. I like that. I like that a lot. And you know, and I had an Akashic Records reading. You know about Akashic Records?
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Yep.
I had a really every one that I've had was profound. I had three so far, but one of them, the message that I got, like how do I know if this is the Creator, God speaking through me, or giving me a message, or some sort of, you know, if this is wisdom that I'm channeling, or is this just, you know, my brain? And what she told me, or maybe it was the records, I think it was the records keepers were telling me this, because she was, you know, channeling at the time, is that you just ask God, is this you saying this? And you'll get the right answer to that second
Yes.
question. So if the first question is, should I invest in the stock or something like that, and you feel like I maybe that was God, maybe, well, maybe it was me, I'm not sure. Just ask that second question, and that'll set you straight. And I found that very helpful.
Great.
Yeah,
Great.
yeah. So
So,
is
go on.
there an example of a particular miracle that you want to share where something happened kind of really out of the ordinary for Mary, or it could be for a client, a specific client. No need to, you know,
Yep.
you feel free to change the names and all that. But yeah, I'd be curious to hear something that was really out of the ordinary, extraordinary, that would make our listener go, "Wow, amazing!"
Well, I mean, I have so many stories. It's like, 26 years of stories of miracles. Some of my favorites, when you're talking big companies, I remember one small, it was a mining company. They were struggling with their productivity, and they called me in because they couldn't break through the 5 million a year barrier. It was like just stuck. And I was like, okay, so they call me, and all their investors were like screaming for their money back. It's like, come on, you said you were going to make all this money. And the owner was like, I know it looks clean, but there's something in the way. So they called me in, and I did a clearing on the property, and I found there was about 20 years before there was an accident and two people died, and the spirits were still there. So I removed the spirits on, and then cleaned up a lot of other things that were going on the property. And I kept getting this message, moonshine, moonshine. I'm like, moonshine? What's going on with moonshine? So I'm like working, and I said, what is this moonshine? What do I do with moonshine? Anyway, so I just follow my guidance, what I need to do to clear the property. And there was one particular street that was a public road that went through the center of the property. And so I had to walk down this road and clear the road, which is like really extreme. But because it was on the property, I could do it. Anyway, so what happened was, the reason for the moonshine was that they found once they cleared the property, everything gets exposed that's in the way. Everything that's out of balance gets exposed. And they found a meth lab up the road that was
Oh
on the property. Someone
no.
and so that was the moonshine. The guidance was, we couldn't say meth lab, so they gave me something that was similar, which is like moonshine having their own distillery or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that was really amazing. And then the next year, that company went to 32 million.
Oh
So from
wow.
being stuck at 5, they went to 32. And I was telling another client about that, and he was laughing his head off. I said, "What are you laughing for?" He says, "Well, when you did our first time you did our property, we increased by 50 million in 3 months. Our sales just went up." I go, "Nice, okay, that's a good one."
Yeah.
And then my other favorite, one of my passions is clearing buildings that can't sell. People have their home, they just like, it's like, why can't we sell? It's been on the market for a year and nothing's happening. And there'll be a blockage. There'll be an energetic blockage, or there'll be a spirit on the property that's blocking the sale. And as soon as I remove it, it sells the next day, or my record's 6 hours after it being cleared, or in a few days. And there was one time where I actually saw a ghost the first time just walk in front of me with my eyes closed, with my eyes open. I was like, whoa, that's the first time I've seen it. So I started talking with the ghost, and I said, why are you here? What's going on? And he'd come with someone to a party at the house, and like the family, so decided to stay. And so it was like, okay, well, these people want to sell their house. They got to sell for financial reasons. A beautiful mansion in Sydney, and he's like, well, but I don't want to go. And then I had to explain about everything. Anyway, we moved him on to the other side, and then bam, 12 hours later, the house was sold, and
Mm.
that had been stuck for 9 months. So sometimes it's spiritual, sometimes it's I pick up the energy of the moving the sign in the front of the yard needs to be moved, or there's a blockage on with the real estate broker. It's the wrong broker for this property, or there's a blockage in front of the house. The house cannot be seen by the public. So there's so many different things we can do to clear the energy
Mm.
to help the sale go through.
No, that's so
And then on the
cool.
personal, level, people come in. Like I had a lady the other day who has been terrified for 20 years driving on the freeway. And she's like, she even thinking about it, she would go into a sweat and start to shake, and she would have cramping in her chest and her throat. And after I removed the blockage, she said, "Okay, it's gone. I feel totally relaxed." She was visualizing everything, and it was like nothing. There's no problem. It was all gone. That's pretty cool. I love that.
Yeah,
So it can be anything. It can be anything we work on.
that's
So,
cool. So how do you clear a property? Are you connecting to the ghosts or entities that are there on the property? You connecting to the land itself? Are you connecting to the creator and asking that this land be or this property, building, whatever, kind of just have any energetic blockages removed? Like, how do you do this?
all of the above.
Okay.
So So basically, what I do is I'll go. First thing I do is asking God, "How may I serve?" That's my mantra. Okay,
Okay.
God, Great Spirit, how may I serve? I also interview the client to find out what is their goal. Where do they want to go in, say, in the next 3 years or 5 years? Where do they want to go? Whether it's a home or a business or a land mass, a property, and so what? Once I know where they want to go, I remove everything that's in the way of that journey. So it will just stand out for me. So as I'm going on the property, everything that is not in line with that, to the point even with like national football teams that they get stuck, and there'll be something on the property, at the bottom of the ladder, and suddenly the next year they win the premiership, they win the Super Bowl even. It's like so yeah. So just anything that's in the way gets exposed to me, and then I remove it. And any advice, if they need to remove any articles from the property, I'll go around. If I'm actually on site versus doing it through Zoom or Skype, I'll actually walk around and I'll see each of the desks, and I'll tell them who's holding the business back or who's not. And then another thing which is really interesting is sometimes if it's a company, sometimes the property attracts the staff or the team, and
Hmm.
sometimes the company attracts the team. And you want the company to attract the team, not the property. Because if the property is really bad, it will attract the wrong people. And I had one company where that was the case. And I called back to see how they were going a couple of weeks after I did the clearing. And they said, well, great, we just had 6 of our top execs leave. I'm like, what? Oh my God, I did too much, right? And they said, no, no, no. It's really good because we have one junior who's doing all the same work of those 6 people. So they saved like 300 grand that they were just spending on these people hiding behind the energy, not doing anything, and they all left. And so that was a case where the property was attracting the bad team. So I fixed the property so that the company attracts the right team members, and that's really important.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And how does it differ to clear, let's say, an entity or like some sort of negative, um,
Like
yeah,
a spirit or
like something that is spirit that's kind of attached to a person. Because I got this message again from the Akashic Records reading that one of my daughters has this negative entity attached to her and it's kind of feeding off of her, and she's not in a great place right now, and I want to have a relationship
clearing.
with her, but she's resisting it. She doesn't want to, she just kind of doesn't want to talk to me
Mm.
and this has been going on for a long time, and I I was given some instructions on how to do an entity clearing, but I don't know. It's been several months now that I've had this, like more than 2 or 3 or 4 months that I've had these instructions, and I haven't done it yet. And she's still not communicating with me, and I don't know what my blockage is to do that, but I did pray for her to have that blockage removed, or that negative entity. It's definitely affecting her quality of life, not just our relationship. Like, she's not in a great place right now, and I want to help her, but yeah, I don't know. So I don't know what to do about
So,
that, but that's an
all
entity
right.
clearing type issue, it sounds like.
Yeah. I call them leeches, those spirits that suck on your energy.
Mm.
And also, they also distort your thinking. They can distort your physiology as well in your body. So, yeah, I have to remove that spirit and send it to the light, because it's like it's actually just sucking the life out of someone.
Yeah.
And it's important that you take them off the planet, because if you just remove them from a person and drop them, they'll just jump on someone else. So it's really important that they get removed, which is what I do. And sometimes they're actually in the body, sometimes they're outside the body. And when they're in the body, my clients will feel like they want to throw up as it's coming out, as I'm pulling it out. They can feel it being extracted from their body, even if it's on Zoom or Skype. They can feel it happening. And then removing it, and then they can't even think of what their problem was before, because it wasn't them. It was the spirit that was controlling them and controlling their relationships and their attitude to life.
Mm.
So even with suicide, there's so many times it's spiritually based. If it's not chemically based, like there's a chemical imbalance, and it's spiritually based, the spirit, what happens is that leech I was talking about, it gets on them. Once it can't take any more energy from you, it wants to leave. But the only way it can leave is if you die. And that's why they start to, oh, it's not worth living. They start telling you stories and that's why you see so many of these kids that are killing themselves for no reason. It's like because of the spirit wants out. And the only way, besides a spiritual healing, is for the person to die, and then they're free. So,
Wow.
yeah. And as soon as, when I've worked with people who are suicidal, and as soon as we remove the spirit, they can't even think. It's like it's impossible for them to think it, because it wasn't them. It
Mm.
wasn't them at all. So, yeah, it's really important to, and it takes about 10 minutes or so, unless it's a really, really bad one. It might take about 20 minutes or half an hour to remove that spirit.
And
So,
does that?
and that's done spiritually, it's not done energetically, because this is what's really important, is that you can't fight spirit with human. You can only fight spirit with spirit.
Mm.
So that unconditional love that melts the attachment to the person of the spirit, so that once they're a bit freer, you can extract and remove the spirit from the person, and give both the spirit and the person freedom. So,
Got it.
yeah.
Okay.
If you
And
try and remove it, it's probably going to jump on you, and then you're the one with the problem.
yeah, gotcha.
So sometimes maybe your intuition is guiding you, not procrastinating. It's just it could be your intuition guiding you not to do it.
Yeah, maybe I need to have you do
Sure.
it.
Sure.
Okay. We'll talk after this episode.
Mm-hmm.
So, what about when the person is suffering from, let's say, drug addiction or alcohol abuse, and you want to help the person, but you also can't get too drawn into their drama, and that whole codependency thing. You don't want to be an enabler. So how do you help on a spiritual, or yeah, I guess on a spiritual
Well,
level with that?
a lot of the times the addiction, the person might start out, but the addiction is not them. It's actually a spirit they've picked. They were drunk or on drugs or whatever, and they got so open that a spirit jumped onto them. What happens is like attracts like. So if you like a certain alcohol or you like a certain drug, the spirit that died from an overdose from the same drug or alcohol or smoking or whatever it is, same addiction, will get attracted to you. And then they're like, oh, this is just like me. And then they start saying, hey, let's have another drink. Let's go shopping. Let's go shopping again. That addiction, or let's watch some more TV, because they're just sucking on your energy, and they want to re-experience what they had when they were alive, So they're using your body as a host to keep the drugs going or the alcohol, whatever the addiction is, so that spirit can feed. But once you remove the spirit, then the addiction is gone, but the person has to now make choices in their life. But to try and make the choices when you've got a spirit on you, a monkey on your back, forget it. It's too hard. It's like you really need a lot of big support team around you to really push through it, to just make some headway. So once the spirit is removed, then it's a lot easier. And you'll find that, oh, I can do this, because you have your personal power back.
Yeah, okay. So how do you know if, like, let's say you're in some pattern that's not helpful, and you don't know if is this me, or is this a spirit that's leeching on me, or like trying to experience through me and trying to influence me to make bad decisions? Is there a way that the person can know this, or does somebody, an outside person like yourself, a healer, need to look at it objectively and say, oh, I see that there's this entity that's attached to you?
Usually anyone around them can see a difference, because their attitude is not their normal self. Their behaviors are not who they are. Like people who are close to them, family or good friends, they just know something's not right. That's when you know there's a spirit attachment. They're just not being themselves, or they're doing things that are really not who I know who they are. And that alone is enough. I mean, anyone who can see that just feels, hey, this is something wrong here. And then you've got to find a spiritual healer who can remove the problem.
Yeah, gotcha.
Especially if suddenly they're fine, all of a sudden then they start drinking or taking drugs. Like, what happened to you? It's not because life got really bad and they got depressed or whatever. No, it's because there's something that's happened to them where they were in the wrong place at the wrong time, and they picked up. So, yeah. So that's anyone can see that something's not right.
Yeah. And you're able to communicate with these entities, even if they're like just leeches that are feeding on somebody else's energy. You're able to communicate with them, or you just send them love and move
I
them
just
on?
get rid of them as fast as I can, move them on as fast as I can. Because if I start talking with them and communicating, and they're a bad one, they'll suck my energy as well. I'll create a bridge, and then it's like, bam, I'm exhausted and I can't help them. And then sometimes they can come across the bridge to me, which is I don't want that.
Has that happened? Has one ever attached to you?
Yeah, when I started trying to communicate, and then I started noticing my energy going down, I almost fell asleep, and and I go, whoa, and I realized this is wrong, and I realized, wham, he's trying to get me. Also, if once I had a bit of attitude around, I said, I can get this guy, so I went more into the ego instead of the unconditional love. And it's like, I got myself a gift. And I was like, oh man, I screwed up big time here. And I had to go and get a clearing for myself. So,
gotcha.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got to be unconditional love. That's the only way to remove the spirits. There's no other way. You can't force them off. If you force them, sometimes you're the one who gets hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did you first have this experience where you were able to communicate with a ghost or an entity, and they kind of spoke back to you or somehow communicated back to you?
The big one was that one I explained where I saw the ghost.
The one
that
walked in front of you.
Yeah. Walked in front of me. Now, he wasn't a bad ghost. He was just stuck on the planet. He was just an earthbound spirit. He didn't move across. He wasn't one of these leeches or anything like that. He was just like enjoying. So he would just talk to the people who came to look to buy the house and say, you don't really want to buy this. It's not your style. So he would talk them out of it. And they'd say, well, I don't know why. It's a beautiful house, but yeah, I don't want to buy it. And it was like, what? So he was doing that because he didn't want the family to go. And so, yeah. So that was my first big experience. A lot of times I'll see them when I'm working with it, because when I'm doing a healing, I'll spend a couple of hours preparing myself to really like fine tune my energies, or I call it switching on. So I really get into a really heightened state of my sensitivity. and then I will feel, and I'll sometimes see, or the shapes around them, or I'll see the person change, and I know it's that not the person, it's the spirit looking right at me. Or I'll
Mm.
drive past, I'm going to a house, I'll see them looking right out the window at me, the spirits. I'm like, damn, this is a good one, you know. So it's like, okay, I got some work here. Or they'll come and I'll enter the front door and they'll jump on my back or hit me across the head because they want me out. This is my house, you know, and they're like fighting against. I go, oh, here's a good one. So yeah, I've had those experiences. A lot more sensing than speaking. Sometimes, like I've done a lot of castles in Europe, and there'll be some really really old ones that have been there for hundreds of years, and they're like, I just want to leave. I'm tired. So they're not bad, but they're just stuck. They're
Hmm.
attached to a painting stuck in a mirror or anything like that, and it's just like they just want out. And they're not bad. They're just stuck. So
Yeah.
those you can talk to a bit.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And when did you realize that you were a healer?
When did I realize? Oh, that's a big question. I don't know if I ever realized it. It's just sort of like evolved. I
Okay.
just wanted to help people. I just wanted to help people. People always ask me for help. And as a kid, I look back now when I was a child and I go into certain homes and I'd be really quiet, and other homes I'd be like loud and making all noise, or around certain people I would react. And so that was the start of my noticing my sensitivity.
Mm.
So now I'm just using my sensitivity to help others. So yeah, now when I'm working, and as soon as someone comes, I immediately start feeling what's going on with them, so I know what to do to move from them.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For me, it
it's
was,
fun.
I don't know, maybe a decade ago that somebody told me after they asked me what my Myers Briggs was, which is INFP, and I answered, and she said, "Oh, INFP, you're a healer." I'm like,
What?
that just resonated for me. I mean, I'm a real geek, and you know, I'm a SEO guy, but I also really relate to that. I don't know, I connect with that, and I feel like I can make a big difference for people and help them heal in multiple ways. And I do feel like I can channel energy and can help them heal physically as well as emotionally and spiritually.
Very good. I guess for many years, I wouldn't say I was a healer. I would, it didn't feel right. The intuition wasn't there that it was right.
Mm.
And so I would say I'm an instrument of healing, or I'm an instrument. God just works through me. Like I become
Yeah.
the instrument to help others. And that's what resonates stronger for me
Yeah,
than
when you
say,
said that, that actually resonates stronger for me too.
right.
Uh, but because it's not me. I'm just,
Exactly.
it's just, it's God's energy that's working through me.
Yeah, I had my experience when I was doing a healing. I had the client on the massage table, and I noticed I was doing the healing. And I saw something. Oh, I'll go and do that. And I went to work on their throat, and immediately I felt all the healing energy leave me, and it was just me. And I go, oh, I just screwed up because I was trying to do it instead of letting the spirits work through me, let God work through me. And that was a great learning for me because I felt the difference from when I was doing it versus when I was trying to do it versus when it's being done spiritually. And so that was like, okay, got it. Thank you, God. Thank you for the lesson. You know, I'm sorry. Please forgive me. And back to work. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was really, now everyone can do energy healing. Everyone who can breathe can do energy healing. But spiritual healing, I realize, it's not, it's an evolution. And
Mm.
even with myself, for 15 years I couldn't remove a spirit of a leech off a person because I didn't have the spiritual strength. But I said I want to do it, so I just kept praying and building up my spiritual strength until one day I could do it. So yeah, it was really cool, really cool.
Wow.
So it's an evolution.
Yeah. Well,
Mm.
I mean, it
And
all
then
is.
some people I see, look, oh, they're a natural born healer. Okay, man, I spent 30 years, trying to learn what you can just do when you woke up. And it's like, but then they don't even know. They have no idea they're a natural born healer. And that's like, wow. And then they just
Or
look at
they do and they refuse to utilize that gift.
which causes a lot of problems for them
Yeah.
because their soul wants to do it, and the soul will block their journey or cause bad luck, whatever, because they're avoiding their truth.
Yeah.
And that's, yeah, I wouldn't want to be one of those people. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough.
Yeah.
Life is tough when you have that, when you're not honoring your gift.
Right. Yeah. My good friend of mine, his now ex-wife, so he finally just said, I can't, this isn't working. She was able to heal people when she was a child, and like physical healings.
Nice.
This was in South America, in her tribe, and so people from other tribes would come to get healings from her, and yeah, she was known for this. And then she moves to North America, and she doesn't want to be seen as a freak, so she refuses to even talk about it, let alone heal anybody. So decades go by where she doesn't heal anybody, and then um, at an event, a spiritual event, I won't mention the name because I don't know that. Anyways, so this person who's this healer and a good friend of mine, and he's amazing. He pulls my friend aside and he says, she's got a gift. She's a healer and she's not using her gift. And he's like, how do you know this? He's like, uh, yeah, this has got to change. It's going to get really not good for her if she
Yeah.
doesn't change this immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And several years go by, and yeah, she still doesn't want to do it. And so he's divorced now. And she's
All right.
off on a different track, and yeah, she's not living her gift. It's a real shame.
And that's my definition of selfishness,
Yeah,
is actually having a gift and not sharing it.
yeah,
And it doesn't have to be a healing gift. It can be a gift of art. It can be a gift of music. It can be a gift of talking to people. And if they're not doing it, it's like, wow, it's really selfish to not share that with the world.
mm-hmm.
So, share your gift.
Yeah,
And that's why you're here. That's what you brought to the planet. Give it out so it can keep flowing. So,
that's right.
yeah,
Yeah.
cool.
Now we haven't talked about angels yet. Let's
Okay.
talk about how angels fit into the picture here. I always feel like I've got angels watching over me,
Hmm.
and yeah, I just feel this connection, and especially when I give a oneness blessing,
Hmm.
which is it's a Deeksha, Deeksha. So that's how I got my own spiritual awakening as a monk. Touched me,
Uh-huh.
gave me a Deeksha, and so when I was in India, I learned how to do it myself, and I'm just channeling the divine grace from God,
Mm.
and the more I want it for the person, the more flows to this person. It's really amazing,
Cool.
and so lately I've been connecting also to an angel. I'm not sure if it's Gabriel or Michael or like I don't know, but it's definitely an angel that's assisting with this process. I can see him as I'm quieting my mind and connecting to in preparation to do this to do the Diksha. And yeah, I'm just really curious to know more about this whole realm and
Right.
how angels fit into the bigger picture. I'm curious
Hmm.
what your experiences and thoughts are on this.
So angels are celestial beings. They're not real, like they don't take human form. So
Mm-hmm.
they're even though you might say someone, oh, this person's my angel, right? It's not a nice colloquialism, but it's like they're celestial beings that are gifts from God. Now everyone has a guardian angel from the day you were born until the day you die. There's an angel staying beside you who protects you. And when if someone ever has the experience with it, angel moves away from them, it's like they feel like they're in the coldest, darkest place on the planet. And it's so scary. And so that's how much light and warmth and love that the angel brings just by being with you, your guardian angel. And then so everybody has a guardian angel. And the idea is to build a relationship with your guardian angel. So when you pass, when their job is done, that you get to see them and say hi, and you've had this relationship all your life, and then you get to see your angel. And but if you don't have a relationship with your guardian angel, then you die. They just leave, and then you're like, well, you got to find your own way to the light, sort of thing. So, so the guardian angel will always give. They'll hide your keys to save you from going into a car accident. They'll say, I just looked there, and now they're back. Where did they go? They were hidden from your vision. Or they'll protect you with giving you information with your intuition, telling you don't go there, don't go to this party, or don't go to this event. It's them communicating to protect you on your journey because it's not your time to go. And then you have other angels that will come and assist through your prayers. You're asking for help. God will send the angels down to help you on a certain task or a certain mission that you need angelic help. Some people have two angels because they really need a lot of help. They have a big mission, or they just need that sort of extra support. But that's rare. Then other angels will come for healing. Other angels will come for protection. So there's all different angels that will come to support you in your journey on the planet. When you ask for them, ask and you shall receive. So, and then that's different to spirit guides. Spirit guides are people who died. The spirits went to the other side, to heaven, or whatever you want to call it, and then they asked to come back to support humanity. So they'll come back and they'll look for someone to work with, and maybe they find a good candidate, and they say, well, they'll petition to God. God, may I stay with this person? And maybe they'll hang around for a couple of years and just see what they can do. And if it's not a right fit, then they go back to God, or they'll look for someone else to support. And if it's a right fit, they'll really go and petition to God to be bonded to you, so that they can assist you with whatever healing you're doing or whatever your mission is on the planet, so they can be of great support to you in your journey. They're people who passed away, who went to the other side, and have come back to assist humanity. So it's and they'll appear as their previous incarnation. That's how they appear. And depending on what's happening on the planet, different spirit guides will come back from different times in history to assist.
Okay. And have you communicated with spirit guides directly?
Mm-hmm.
And is there one in particular that you want to share as an example?
No, when I'm praying and asking God for help, spirits will come to support. And especially the first time I really noticed it was when I've done a lot of work with horses around the world. In 6 different countries I've worked with horses. And when I pray, there's all these spirit guides come. I see them, it's like, whoa. And they assist me with the horse to remove whatever the problem is with the horse, and then the horse gets the freedom, because they have a resonance with the animals. So they're able to assist, using my body as the instrument to remove the spook or the problem from the horse, so the horse is free. That was the first time I saw it. Other times I'll feel a spirit guide come, or I'll hear a presence. And I always know they're a spirit guide because my heart just like opens up and it feels all warm. And I go, wow, who's here? Right. And then I'll hear a voice, or I'll sense a personality beside me that has its own individuality. So I know it's not me. And it's also has this loving presence. And then we'll go into battle. And I've had one spirit guide came when I walked into this club. It was really bad. It's like evil place. But I just was hanging out with the boys, go out for a drink, and it wasn't a good place. So he actually came to protect me, and I was eternally grateful for that. So then I have a spirit guide that's working with me for some of my healings, who's more closer to me. He's not permanently with me, but he's like in that sort of checking me out phase. So, but yeah, God will send, when you ask, God will send help. And then you just have to be open to receive the help to be of assistance to humanity. All right. And I think it's funny when I hear, because some people go to psychics and I say, oh, you got five spirit guides and all this. I'm like, how can have, and what's your occupation? I'm an accountant. It's like, why would you have five spirit guides if you're an accountant? Like, there's no
Yeah,
reason.
you're
So it's
you're
like,
meant to do other things,
yeah, or
bigger
but
things.
most of the time, what happens is the psychic, when they're doing the reading for the person they're sitting in front of them, if there's a spirit guide around, it's like a Kodak moment for them. Like they go, oh, picture, and they want to show themselves behind the person. Like what is it when you're doing a photo bomb?
Yeah,
They're doing a
yeah.
photo bomb with the spirit, the psychic person is seeing these spirits there, and they're like, wow, but they're just passing by. They're not
Oh, right,
actually
right, right.
assigned to that person. Because if you have one spirit guide, there's a lot. It's a huge burden because they, with their unconditional love, they'll amplify all your uglies and everything will come out. So you have to like purify yourself to work with just one spirit guide. So if you have more than one, oh my God, that's a huge a burden, huge responsibility to carry. So,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
most of the time they're just passing by. They come to help. You ask for help. The spirit guides will be there. God will send them so that you can do whatever you need to do to help humanity.
Gotcha.
And that's the
Okay.
way it works. Okay.
Yeah. So the term in Kabbalah that I was trying to think of was desire to receive for the self alone. So that is something that where the energy gets blocked. It's like if you give money to a homeless person who keeps that money for themselves, the energy doesn't flow, right? Whereas if that, you see these hidden camera videos on
Yeah.
YouTube where somebody was given a bunch of money, this homeless person, and then they go shopping and they get a bunch of stuff, food or clothing or whatever, and they give it out to all their friends who are also homeless.
Mhm.
That's that's where the energy continues to flow. And so if work to keep that energy flow and not keep it for yourself, that's really
Right.
important. Yeah.
Yeah. Most of the time, unless you have a mission to complete, a spirit guide won't come to you just for yourself.
Yeah.
It's like their mission is greater for humanity. So it's about how can you help humanity
Hmm.
with what you want to do, and that's why the whole thing about contribution is so important, right? How can I contribute? What can I give? And the more you give, like you said, the flow. The more you give, the more you receive. It just starts to flow, and it's like, oh, where can I give now? Where can I give now? Because you're just loving it. You feel so good.
Yeah.
So that's a human being, not a human doing. It's a different, totally different person.
Yes.
So
Yeah, I love that expression. We're human beings, not human doers. Yep.
yeah,
So we're going through a tough time right now with the coronavirus and the economic shutdown, essentially, of of the entire, not just country but the world. Um, what do you tell your clients and friends, loved ones, that will help them to deal with this situation and not just kind of hunker down and survive it, but be able to stay at a
thrive.
high vibration and thrive and reveal light and be like a beacon of light for people and not just like get through it.
Mm. So I first thing I noticed was darkness in people's homes. I'm like, why is this darkness here? And then I realized it was coming through the media and the social media. So all the hysteria, like I think the fear virus is bigger than the coronavirus.
Mm.
And so what I noticed is like, why is there darkness? And it was like, this is man-made. This is not negativity or spiritual base. It's actually man-made darkness. And because the darkness, if the house is full of the darkness, people can't think straight, they can't be creative, can't contribute, and so forth. They're stuck. So I had to do a lot of clearing for homes, and then I found a way to help people with the blessed candle so that they can light the candle when, say, they're watching the news to get the whatever information they need, and they light the candle so it clears the house. The house stays bright, and then when they finish with the TV, it's like, okay, the house still feels good. And so it's that darkness that's so, and so cutting back on your social media intake around the virus subject or the media TV media around the subject, because it just, with the electronics, it just comes into the space through the medium. Get what you need, the information you need. Be really, use your common sense to just be smart, and then spend the time doing stuff you've always wanted to do, but you never got around to around your home. It's like, I don't know how many people have cleaned their garages and got rid of old boxes and stuff that they'd just been hanging on to. So things like that, using the time in a productive way, or resting, sleeping, getting their energy up to go forward, or planning their future projects, those sort of things. Developing, like with my business clients, developing into using the Zooms or Skype to set up meetings, to keep communication going. So all these sort of things is what's recommended. But the biggest thing I noticed was that darkness that I was seeing in people's homes, and just getting rid of that.
Right. So what about a situation where, I don't know, a friend or client, somebody is facing layoffs because their revenue has dropped dramatically? Is that just the way it is? Is you got to lay people off, or is there another option that's more kind of spiritual or unconditional
Well, I've been
love type?
teaching. Yeah, I've been teaching a process for about 20 years. Called, it's actually a book I've got on Amazon called "Is Your Money Running on Empty?" And it's a process that transforms their unconscious beliefs, and through reprogramming the unconscious. Like, people say to me, "Why are you so relaxed right now, Kim? Shouldn't you be stressed?" I said, "No, because I already have that taken care of." Looking at building that foundation where if you have a year off work, it doesn't affect you. And so you have the space and the time, because when people suddenly run out of money, it's like the fear is so high, the survival is so high, that it clouds your creativity, it clouds your ability to contribute.
Yeah.
So working on that.
And it also, for some people like myself, it's connected to their sense of self-worth and ego. And if the money dries up, or the revenue dries up, then it's like, wow, life's horrible, or like you don't feel that valuable in the world.
And that's just what happens, is you start going into old patterns or old beliefs or society beliefs. Again, sometimes it's coming through the media. Other people are being laid off, and suddenly you get their thoughts, because it's so pervasive on the planet right now. And like, I know people that have been doing my process, they lost their job and they're fine. They're like, okay, I'm looking for a new job. It's like because they don't have that weakness in their energy field and in their unconscious,
Right.
that it doesn't suck them into everyone else's. I mean, it's a little thing like I taught people years ago, when the taxes are due, put in your tax, what is it, submission, the day it's due, the first day. Don't wait, because just doing that, it cuts your connection from everyone else who hasn't done their taxes. And so people who wait to do their taxes, they start to attract the energies of everyone else in the country that hasn't done their taxes, and it makes it heavier and heavier burden. So if you do your taxes immediately, then it's like you're free, and all that heaviness from other people is gone. It doesn't affect you at all.
I like that. I like that a
Yeah.
lot, because
So
now we
little
all
things like,
have till July 15th to pay our taxes.
right,
But now I'm thinking I'm going to pay my taxes by April 15th.
get it done. Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
And I would experiment through the years when I was developing this process with the money. I was doing so much experimenting and seeing how the energy affected human performance, depending on, like, when you paid your bills. Do you wait the 30 days when it's due, or do you pay it the first day you get the bill? Things like this. And how does it change the energy? What if I wait 5 days? Does it affect the energy? What if I wait 10 days? And seeing how it changed. And okay, so I teach people how to not be affected by others, because if you're getting a bill, you've already used the service. So it's like you don't go and get a loaf of bread from the shops and eat it and then pay for it a week later or a month later. It's like you've already consumed it. So get that flow, like you're saying, get that exchange of energy moving. And so I teach all of that as well. And that's just through my experimentation. I was like so tired of when I was starting my business of being broke and struggling, and I just had to find a way out. And so back in the late 90s, I developed a process, and it's been wonderful. So
So
all these times,
is your money running out, running on empty? Is that's
yes,
the process, and that's the book. Okay, we'll
that's
link
the
to
book.
that in
Yeah.
the show
Oh,
notes.
great.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and I know that you've worked with Dan Sullivan of Strategic Coach and his wife Babs Smith,
That's,
who's actually the person who runs the company.
yes,
uh,
that's right.
and I'm curious what would be a fun little story or anecdote to share with your experiences working with Dan and Babs. I think very highly of them.
Yeah, one of the stories that Dan loves to share with people is that he had this daily anger for 40 years. Every day for 40 years, he had this anger. And then one day he said to me, Kim, can we work on this? I've had this anger every day for 40 years, and it's just like, it's enough. And so I said, yeah, we can work on it. But I had to book him at the end of the day because I didn't know it was going to be a big one. So I did the session at the end of the day and cleared it, cleared the anger. And that was probably, it was well over 10 years ago. And he hasn't had a day since. The anger's gone completely from his life. And
Wow.
people used to say to me, oh, I saw, what have you done to Dan? He's so much calmer now. And it was just this one thing that he held on to for 40 years. And he was so happy. He's like tells everybody about it, how it changed his life. It gave him so much energy and freedom just from that one thing. And we do a lot of work together. He loves to grow. When someone works with me more consistently, we clear all the baggage and all the past from them. Like Dan always says, I don't have a past. Kim got rid of it. He has the memories, but not the baggage.
Mm.
And then once the person has cleared all that past, then we can work on growth, and that's exciting. The work we've done with Strategic Coach, we've been working together for almost 14 years. And the work we do now is all about growth and going through these times. Dan's sailing through these times,
Yeah.
and it's wonderful. So that's a fun story he likes to tell people. And the funny story is when I first met him, the reason I met Strategic Coach was I was working with Julia Waller. And do you know Julia and Shannon Waller from Strategic Coach?
I just attended Shannon's
Shannon, okay,
her webinar this morning.
right,
Yeah.
right. So I first met Julia and Shannon, and Julia had a personal clearing, and Shannon, I cleared her house. And when Julia went to work a couple of days later to the office, Dan and Babs saw her and couldn't believe how different she looked.
Hmm.
And then she explained that she met me and I did this healing with her. And then they said, well, does he do companies? Babs says, well, does he do companies? And so, yeah. So I met them, did a session with them, and then in Chicago. And then they asked me to come back 3 months later. So I came back in 3 months, and I was living in Hong Kong at the time. So I flew back. And then Dan had a second session, and he said, this is the way it's going to work. We're going to work together for 40 years, and then we'll review our progress. And I was like, it was so funny because I was only 39 at the time. I didn't know what 40 years was. So, but we've been working together ever since. That was back in 2006, and just love working with them. They're so forward focused, growth oriented,
Yeah.
contribution people. They just want to help people to grow their business. It's wonderful. It's a perfect client for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're great, and I really
Yeah.
enjoy being part of Strategic Coach as a client.
Right.
Yeah. So
Excellent.
if somebody wanted to work with you, if our listener wanted to work with you, get some coaching, get some clearing,
Clearing.
some blockages removed, where do they go? How do they get in touch?
Go straight to my website, kimwhitecoaching.com, and that's it. And then you've got you can book sessions on there. You can reach out from there. So
Okay.
kimwhitecoaching.com.
Awesome. Well, thank
Yeah.
you, Kim. This was really fun and inspiring, and I'm serious. I'm going to talk to you about working together
Sure.
after this episode. But yeah, so again, KimWhiteCoaching.com, listener, do check out his site, and also the show notes for this episode will include links to the book and to the website and so forth, and full transcript of the episode. So check it out. And we'll catch you on the next episode of Get Yourself Optimized. I'm your host, Stephen Spencer, signing off. Thank you. Have a great rest of your day.